The following program is pre-recorded.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, Salem Media Group, staff, management, or advertisers.
Welcome. It's time to transform your family's health with one of the nation's leading authorities on total health. We'll bring you into a world free of disease and physical pain. Learn how to revolutionize the health of the ones you love most. Your host is the wellness physician for the Sports Performance Council for Team USA and founder of Revive Chiropractic in Lewis Center, Ohio. This is Revive Your Health Radio, presented by ReviveChiro.com.
Welcome, everybody. You're listening to a brand new episode of Revive Your Health Radio. I'm your host and lifestyle expert, Dr. Brendan Schreiner, and this is a show that we work to renew your hope, rebuild your health, and revive your God-given potential through the 5 essentials of health. I've got a brand new episode in store for you today. I'm super excited about it. It's actually been a while since I've recorded a new show, and so as 2025 kicks off, I'm personally excited. My staff is excited for the opportunities that just lie ahead of us as a country when it comes to our health. You know, with Trump back where he needs to be and Robert Kennedy Jr. joining forces with him. Personally, wherever you're at, that's up to you, but I'm just super excited. I'm super excited about the health and well-being of my children. I'm super excited about the health and well-being of our future health initiative and getting back to looking at the body and the things that need to be done naturally from the inside out instead of the outside in. Really kind of cracking down on some of big pharma, pharmaceuticals, and just really the chronic disease epidemic. And, it may not get all accomplished in the 4 years, but it's a start, and it's definitely better than where we've been over ever, really. So regardless of what side you're on or what you lean towards, we all have to agree with the fact that our health is pretty bad in this country, and so we need a massive reset button when it comes to that. So this week, we're going to discuss chronic disease and how Revive Chiropractic and Lifestyle is really your local solution when it comes to that. We really believe that we are the solution when it comes to chiropractic, pain management, spinal correction, but not just that, about a vitalistic, healthy lifestyle for you, your family, your kids. I always tell patients that, the goal is to never just you go to a chiropractor and get adjusted and feel better, but it's to not feel bad. And that's why you go to a chiropractor or you live this preventative lifestyle. It's one thing to get ear infections to go away, but it's also another thing to get ear infections to never come back. It's one thing for, your diabetes to be under control, but it's another thing for your diabetes never just to have to come back and for you to kind of be in a mindset to where, hey, I'm very, very confident in the path that I'm on. I'm very, very confident that I have the tools necessary to be able to steward over my body effectively, and I have a plan of attack that makes sense. And that's really what we're the best in the city at, and I'm very, very confident in that. Before we do that, though, I want you to bring you in on a really cool promotion and that we're doing the whole month of December. We're calling it Give the Gift of Health. And I'm just really excited to be able to bring health, hope, and wholeness to our city. So listen to this really cool opportunity. Hey guys, Dr. Brandon here with Revive Your Health Radio and co-founder of Revive Chiropractic and Wellness. This is the time of year when we should be focusing on our faith, family, and whatever else God has called us to. However, you and I know many people who unfortunately will be blindsided by sickness that, let's be honest, is totally preventable. Many of us want to be healthy, but we just don't have a clear and effective path to achieve it. This holiday season, consider giving the gift of health to yourself or those you love. For just $49, you will receive your initial exam and first chiropractic adjustment. This is a $300 value for just $49. So let's not let sickness, pain, or chronic disease stop us from having a great holiday season. Call the office at 614-781-8808 or visit us online at ReviveChiro.com to claim your $49 appointment. This is only good for the month of December, so act fast and let's take control of your health together. So as we, get further into the show, I really want to break down like where are we at as a culture, where are we at as a country, when it comes to chronic disease and America. I mean, why are we talking about it? Is chronic disease a big issue? Unless you've been sleeping under a rock, we are one of the sickest cultures in the world. Out of the top industrialized countries in the world, we are the sickest, and we spend the most on healthcare. So, out of the industrialized countries, we just spend way too much money, and most of that money, almost all that money, is on pharmaceutical drugs. And let me be the first to tell you that I'm not anti-medicine. I'm not anti, going to a medical doctor. My kids have had to go to a medical doctor for broken arms and different things that I just really, as a doctor, it's not in my scope. But only for emergencies. We look at our traditional medical system as like the end all when it comes to health. Our kid has an ear infection or a sniffle or a skin rash or any kind of gut problems or isn't focusing. We automatically go to medicine, and we believe that that's a tool that they have in their tool belt that was given to them in medical school. And the reality is that medical school does not equip medical doctors to give people health. It equips medical doctors to prescribe medication, to treat disease with medication, shots, and surgery. They don't go to school for nutrition. They take very little, if any, courses on nutrition. And because of that, our culture is in a chronic disease state. We're sick, we're fat, we're tired. And because of those things, and we go to the doctor, we get prescribed medication, which is a chemical cocktail that will manipulate our physiology, make us feel better. Ozempic is a very good example of this debacle. It's probably one of the most horrible drugs that I've ever seen on the market. A lot of other countries don't even allow it, but in the United States, we're trying to figure out more ways to sell it. I just read an article the other day that Ozempic is being linked back to heart muscle shrinkage. Literally, your heart muscle is shrinking. It's probably one of the worst medications that I've ever seen. And yes, you will lose weight, but it comes with a massive, massive, massive side effects and even cancer. So where are we at when it comes to chronic disease? An estimated 129 million people in the U.S. have at least one major chronic disease. And that's heart disease, cancer, diabetes, obesity, hypertension. As defined by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, 5 of the top 10 leading diseases in the U.S., leading causes of death in the U.S., are strongly associated with preventable and treatable chronic illnesses. So basically what that means is that 5 of the top 10 leading causes of death in the U.S. are totally preventable. Heart disease, cancer, hypertension, diabetes, like those are the top ones. Those are very preventable illnesses. Those are not genetic. There may be a genetic inheritance to it, but that doesn't mean that they're your destiny. There's a lot of things that go into that. How you methylate, how you detox. But all of those are preventable through lifestyle and proper supplementation, detoxification, functional assessments that we do in our clinic. Over the past 2 decades, prevalence has increased steadily, and the trend is expected to increase. An increasing proportion of people in America are dealing with multiple chronic conditions. So 42% of Americans have 2 or more chronic illnesses. 12% have at least 5. And about 90% of the annual $4.1 trillion healthcare expenditure is attributed to managing and treating chronic diseases and mental health conditions. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you're thinking, well, that must have been 10 years ago. No, this is the CDC 2024, right? So this is this year. This is the latest stats. 90% of the annual $4.1 trillion healthcare expenditure is being attributed to managing preventable diseases. No offense, our churches aren't making a dent. A lot of our healthcare clinics are not making a dent, and I personally believe that the only way that we're going to make a dent is by cleaning up the top, which is why I'm super excited about Robert Kennedy Jr., just kind of going into the CDC, cleaning some things up, and really asking the major question: what is health? and what do we do to improve the health and well-being of the people, not just prescribing them a pill, a shot, a potion, a lotion to treat a symptom, which obviously, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. That's what we've been doing. We've been treating chronic disease with medication, and it's not working. And now we have a pill called Ozempic that'll make you lose weight, but you'll still get heart disease and cancer and diabetes, even though you still fit in your bikini you want. It's not health. It's disease and symptom treatment. So we got to do something different. This is actually pretty interesting. So this week's Revive Your Health news update, we're going to talk about the American Journal of Managed Care. This is in November 2024. The top 5 issues that Robert Kennedy Jr. wants to address. Let's look at the science, shall we? So there's 5 things that Robert Kennedy wants to really begin to, to break down. And I listen. I'm not, I'm not even really a political guy. These are things that I talk about on a daily basis: food, chronic disease, vaccines, whatever it may be, and obviously, you need to contact and consult your doctor. We need to work together. Our professions need to work better together at getting people healthier. We've notoriously in the past done a horrible job of that, but we need to do a better job. We need to do a better job of teaming together and knowing what our lane is and staying in that lane. And really, the world will be a better place if we all work together. But I've been talking about this for a really long time, and I'm really excited that somebody's actually bringing this to the forefront. Number one on the docket is food and nutrition. Let that food be thy medicine. Before we start, giving kids, antipsychotic drugs and, all these different types of ADHD medication, which ADHD is basically a made-up diagnosis. It doesn't really even exist. It's because of food. It's because of sugar. It's because of dyes. And really, some of the latest research is saying that, open mouth breathers and not sleeping properly is creating a ton of attention deficit, focus, lack of oxygen to the brain. So, a lot of things that in our office in chiropractic and natural functional health practitioners are trained to do that your traditional medical doctor is not trained to do. And so, he's talking about healthier diets. He's talking about taking away seed oils and pesticide-heavy agriculture. I mean, it is really difficult to go anywhere, fast food, or even, at the grocery store, something can be organic and still have processed seed oils, canola oil, rapeseed oil, and what they are is they're damaging and they're toxic oils which break down the cell membrane and create a ton of omega-6 fatty acid overload. And omega-6 fatty acids, which we'll talk about here later on the show, are just very, very inflammatory. And they create chronic inflammation throughout the body. They create chronic inflammation of the cellular environment. You're not able to detox properly. And, the National Institute of Health actually says that, every single chronic disease known to mankind can be linked back to inflammation. Well, if we want to make a dent in chronic disease, but yet every single food that the CDC is improving or the FDA is approving has seed oil in it, most of it, and we're able to spray all of our crops and all of our stuff with these heavy, glyphosate and different things like that. You have to understand we're actually creating the problem that we're trying to fix. It's a very interesting dynamic. He's even talking about, advocating for raw milk. Some people kind of get, all their panties in a bunch when it comes to this stuff. But, the reason why raw milk is good is because it's not pasteurized, which when you pasteurize milk, you take pretty much all the good stuff out of it. And really you're just, it's got casein and, traditional milk nowadays is heavily processed. It's, these cows are giving a ton of antibiotics and steroids, and they produce way more milk than what they should. And really your kids are drinking that. And most kids, unfortunately, because they're eating seed oils and they have an ear infection every once in a while because of toxic dairy, or they're not getting adjusted properly, then they go to the doctor, they get an antibiotic that destroys their gut. But the same doctor that gave them the antibiotic is telling them, hey, you should drink milk. Well, they drink milk. Well, then with a horrible gut microbiome, they can't break down the casein in this toxic milk. and therefore they're getting a ton of inflammatory runny noses, snotty noses all the time, ear infections all the time. And, oh yeah, by the way, let's just put tubes in like 3 or 4 times, right? So, he's advocating for things done naturally. It's been, Amish population and other parts of the country have been drinking raw milk for years. And, I think it'd be really interesting to study the Amish population and just look at their chronic disease rates, look at their cancer rates, look at their autism rates, look at their health in general. They're just way healthier of a population than we are. He's talking about ending the chronic disease epidemic, number 2. And really what he's trying to do is he's trying to say less pharmaceutical and more cause-driven healthcare. We're actually going to hold people accountable for, science and liability, and we're not just going to, rush things to market. When it comes to research, we're actually going to have good research. We're going to ask the question. We're not just going to have the people that are pushing the drugs, publishing the research articles. We're going to be held accountable for these things, and we have to think less outside in and more. Let's look at what God gave us already. Let's look at our body. It was born perfect and awesome, and let's give it what it needs to be healthy. And then, obviously, in an emergency situation, if you need medication, then there are instances that you need that. So let's not just completely ignore that, but at the same time, we don't even look at the other side, and that's a huge problem. A great example of that is that the FDA policies and alternative healthcare procedures, the FDA doesn't even look at them as good, but yet the FDA has approved the Twinkie as safe, but it won't approve a high-quality wild-caught omega-3 fatty acid fish oil is FDA approved. It's really weird, if you ask me. And then number 4, this is the big one. Everyone's like, he's anti-vaccine. I don't think he's anti-vaccine. I think he's just, pro-choice and anti. Let's show me the safety behind these things. And I'm not going to get into this a whole lot because, you can do whatever it is that you want to do as long as you're educated. But I will tell you is that the Vaccine Injury Compensation Act that was passed in the 1970s basically gives every single pharmaceutical company, they're not liable for anything. And so I always thought that was very interesting. When I had, my boys, we've got 4 boys, and, the decisions that we decided to make with our children were, well, I don't know if I trust something that comes to market from a company that has no liability for the the side effects of it. And the reality is that nurses and doctors don't really know a whole lot about vaccines. They don't know a whole lot about what's in them. Pharmaceutical company comes, they provide dinner, they provide lunch, they say, hey, here's what we're going to do, here's what we're going to push. A good example of this, which I think is interesting, and I think anybody that doesn't raise question to this is got their head in the sand. The CDC just came out with the 2025 vaccine schedule for 0 to 12 months. And a child in 2025, the CDC is recommending that every single child before the age of 1 get 26 doses of vaccines. Now, if you're over the age of 50, which most of the people that listen to this show are, you had maybe 5 to 7 vaccines as in total. A child before the age of 1 will have 26 vaccinations. That includes the COVID-19 gene-altering mRNA shot at 6 months. I mean, this is really interesting and very scary. Our children are the weakest population and the ones that are being targeted because we can make the most money off of sick children. And so he's trying to fix that. Fluoride in water. And was like, well, what's wrong with fluoride? I mean, don't dentists do that with teeth? They do, but a lot of natural dentists and dentists that are even graduating in the last 5 years are like, wow, fluoride is a neurotoxin. It's in our water. It shouldn't be. It's not in other countries' water, and so we should be able to clean these things up and really be able to drink out of a faucet without having to pay $10,000 for a fluoride removing whatever system. He's just trying to get back to the way that God intended us to live, naturally, off of the earth, cleaning up the environment. I think it's a really good thing. But what's the major takeaway here? Like I said, whether or not you hate who's in office or who's not, I just want you to understand we've got to get back to the basics of what health really is. I think we can all, agree that our health care is bad, and we need to improve it. But the management of the disease through shots and pills or the preventative and cause-driven approach to find the root cause of sickness. Like, what do you want? I don't think anybody is like, well, I want to manage my disease by taking more pills and shots. Like, nobody wants that. The other part of that, though, is that a lot of people don't want to go through the preventative measures to find the cause because it takes work, it takes effort, and the pill is always easier. So there needs to be a mindset shift, and I think one of the greatest things that we need in this culture is just a wake-up call. What is health? What is it? What is not? There's two paths that you can go down. I talk to families every single day. I say, listen, I don't care which path you go down, but you better choose one, because if you're down one path and you're down the other, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, it's very, very dangerous. I use both paths, but I use one path 99.9% of the time, and the less than 1% of the time when my kid falls on the playground and breaks his arm, I can't do anything about that. If for some reason I get hit by a car and I'm bleeding out my carotid, I go to the emergency room. They're the best in the world for that. Or for some reason your child is born with a genetic deficit in their heart, they have to go in there and get it taken care of. Obviously, go there. But to go to the doctor and be like, hey, I want you to make me healthy. They're like, okay. Did you get your shot this year? Okay. What about your flu shot? Did you get that? Okay. Are you eating good? I think so. Okay, great. Well, you look good. I mean, you're 70 and you look fit. I'll see you next year. Like they don't know how to do that, and that's not their fault. It's the training that goes into it. So we have to focus on health. And as I kind of wrap up the first part of this show, I think it's important to understand what health is. And those of you who've been listening to the show for a long time, I know maybe I'm kind of beating this in the ground, but I think it's more important than ever for us to understand what it means to be healthy. Health is not just just because you don't have cancer doesn't mean you're healthy. Just because you don't have heart disease doesn't mean you're healthy. Just because your kids don't have an ear infection and they're beautiful kids don't technically mean that they're healthy. It just means they're not expressing a symptom. Health is the complete function of every single cell, tissue, and organ as close to 100% as possible, and not just merely the absence of disease or infirmity. That was Dorland's Medical Dictionary, 1936. Pretty good definition. So basically what that means is that the only way that you can really, truly be healthy is through the preventative actions of working out, exercise, taking good supplements, getting your spine and nervous system adjusted, because that controls everything. And every once in a while, if you're, deadly ill, maybe you would want to use medicine to try to get you over the hump, if that's what you want to do. But, to rely upon medicine all the time for the treatment of a symptom, that is not health. That's just, I guess, managing disease. It's management. It's health management, right? I love the function chart, and I talk to patients about this all the time. 100% function is really the goal. I don't think that any of us can be at 100% in the world we're living in today with the air and whatever. But the goal should be to be as close to 100% as possible. 0% function is death, and really I think this is very interesting, but also vital for you to understand that it actually takes about 40% damage to your body before you actually begin to express symptoms. So at about 60% function, an individual will actually begin to express symptoms. So basically, if you do express symptoms and you're living in a traditional kind of world, when it comes to health, you'll go to the doctor and they'll prescribe you a medication, or they'll refer you to another doctor that will give you a test that will eventually lead to a medication. And the whole goal is to treat that symptom. And my question to you is this: if I keep taking something from the outside in to treat that symptom, it goes away, but I don't find the root cause as to why that symptom exists. Do I go closer to 100% function or closer to zero? And the answer is always closer to zero, because if I don't find the root cause of why an illness exists and I keep covering it up, I don't make myself healthy. I just don't feel bad. And sometimes not having the symptom is one of the worst things ever, because you don't know you're sick, and you could actually be building more and more disease in the body. And so we have to be very proactive when it comes to that. Quick little story here. About 5 years ago, a little boy came into my clinic, and little boy suffered with debilitating migraines and seizures. And this is a pretty typical, case of, hey, mom and dad, didn't really know much about health, and went the traditional route. Got every CT scan, an MRI, brain MRI. Went to the top, neurosurgeons. They went to the top neurologists, and they put him on a ton of different medications to calm his seizures down. Things weren't helping. The medications had a lot of side effects. And his grandmother was a patient in our clinic, and she said, hey, can Revive help my grandson? I said, anytime there's interference to the nervous system, food, any kind of traumas to the brainstem that are affecting his function, we can help improve that function. And so she said, hey, I'm going to get him in. So we had him come in the office, and this little boy was 8 at the time, and we took an x-ray of the lateral part of his neck, and that natural arc that you have in your spine that looks like a banana, it's supposed to be at 45 degrees. He didn't have one. It was completely straight. It was choking off and putting pressure on the brainstem. And, I tell him all the time, I don't treat seizures, I don't treat headaches, but there's interference here. We started adjusting him. We started changing his diet. We gave him really good, healthy supplementation. And after about 6 to 8 weeks, all of his seizures went away, all of his headaches went away. And his parents were like really opened to this concept of, wow, the body needs no help, just no interference. So if you're out there and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, we've got answers for you. Awesome opportunity this December to get back on the health train with an amazing holiday special that we have. When we come back, we're going to dive into some more chronic disease. We'll see you in a few.